Hey guys, so I actually did a recording this morning. I started the recording right when the market opened, and I actually went back and reviewed these two trades that I did this morning, and realized that I didn't actually enter very well. I didn't use confirmation, so you'll have to forgive me for doing that. I actually don't. I rarely ever enter without confirmation, so I guess I just wasn't paying attention this morning. I was too excited about actually remembering that I was recording. But anyway, this is market open. It's the first minute. And today I was actually going to wait to see an entry point because I didn't know how things were going to react this morning after yesterday's day. So I try to wait about 15 minutes before I enter the market. And I think at least that part of my rule I actually kept with today. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually looking at the different positions that I'm interested in, and I'm interested in Tesla, Amazon, and Apple. Apple actually have a call right now, and it's losing me money. And because I once again didn't follow my rules, didn't exit properly, so I'm actually losing money on that call. But I'm giving myself till the end of the week to get rid of it. So don't pay attention to the Apple portion of this video. So Google and Amazon are what I'm looking at because what I like about mornings, I like a sharp drop, and then I like a recovery. So if it dips in the morning, I try to find an entry point after the dip, and then ride the correction back up. And that's actually my favorite play. I prefer that over anything else because when something opens first thing in the morning and it runs up really quick, I always feel like if I jump in too early that it might reverse because of the volatility in the morning. And if you look at Google right now, you can see how volatile it is. You have three candles, one with a huge wick. You have no connection between any of the candles at all. At least with Tesla, you see the little run up. You can see a little connection between the second candle and the third candle, but it's still not something that I would want to do because I have no idea which way it's going. So I keep going back and forth because I'm looking at the different option contracts and to see what pricing I'm looking at. I'm also looking at the Apple right now too because if it happens to pop up enough where I can either break even or get out of the contract with a minimal loss, then I will do that. This is a group that I actually belong to, and I was just chatting with them to let them know that I'm looking at Google right now because the pullback is coming up nice, and it could be potentially a good play. So what that actually happened with Google and with Tesla this morning, no, Amazon this morning. So those are the two that I end up trading. I think as the video goes on, obviously I'll change. I'm gonna try to talk through all of it, so I'll be like babbling for the next 45 minutes, and I'll try to give you information on what I'm thinking and what I'm doing at the time. I might not, I might fail at that here and there, but I will do my best. This is my first live trade, and unfortunately, I was on the line today at work, and so there's a lot of grinding and welding and things like that going on in the background, and I didn't want to talk over that, so I just decided to let it go and record the audio later. I thought the most important thing was that actually people got to see a live trade I do, and then how I use my spreadsheet, and then how I use my trailing stop losses and things like that. So right now, it's I think minute 4 right now. We're just about into minute 5, and there's still no real clear direction. Apple does have clear direction, but I wasn't planning on trading Apple at all. Just looking for a recovery. Google, like I said, Google, Amazon, Tesla. These are on my watch list every single day, and I keep track of them every single day. And I almost trade. I trade most of them actually every single day. Today I ended up trading, and you'll see in the blog post, I ended up trading Tesla, Amazon twice, Google once, Tesla twice, and there was one other one. I can't remember what it was, but it's in the post. So right now we're still not seeing any clear direction. You see, like Amazon is all over the place. So I don't like to enter in when it's like that because even with something like that shooting up like it is now, you don't know how long it's going to last. And a lot of times when something goes up that quick, it comes down just as fast in the next minute. So Google's seeing a little bit, but still nothing that I would be comfortable jumping into. And Tesla is just all over the place. And just checking on my Apple again. That's what I just did. I went back to the trade tab is actually where I'm looking at it. The place where you can buy options and things like that. So you see Tesla now is dropping, and you see where my cursor is, and I'm actually paying a lot of attention to that now because of the drop. And the reason why I'm paying attention to the drop and thinking there's going to be a recovery is because I check the news every morning. I check the news tab and I check all of my news sources to see what the news is on each one of the tickers on my watch list. And if there's no negative news and something drops that quickly based off no negative news, then that tells me that there's a really, really good chance that there's going to be a recovery at some point. So that's what I'm looking out for. And it's dropping fast too. Like it did, I think it did this for a while. It tried to come back up, I think the next candle, and then it kept going. See, I'm looking right now to see, okay, is this an actual recovery point? Is that it's going to try to reverse, or is it going to continue down? And so it looks like it's trying to continue down. Apple is actually reversing too. And then, so now I'm actually looking at Apple and seeing how much money I'm losing at this point. And like I said, once I broke my rule, I just decided that I was going to hold it till Friday, or until something until enough recovery happens where I'm happy getting out of it. Even if I let it expire worthless, which I'm not going to do, I would still be okay as far as profits for the year. I'll actually still be profitable for the year, which is good. I don't do that very often, and I don't plan on doing that very often. It was just I had too many things going on at one time, and by the time I saw Apple was at a huge loss, I was just like, you know what, it's gonna recover, and so far it has not. So, and it was actually probably not the best entry anyway. So we're looking at Tesla for recovery. We're looking to see what Google's about to do, and we're looking at to see what Amazon's doing. At this point, Apple, I'm sort of not paying attention to it anymore because I know it's not going to where I want it to go. And then everything looked like it stalled out there for a second, so I actually checked my Wi-Fi to make sure it was still working. And I'm on site somewhere, and it's the Wi-Fi's decent, but it does have issues every once in a while. So Tesla is still going down, so this is actually something I'm really paying attention to for an entry. Amazon is starting to go down, so I'm looking for that as an entry point. And I think I ended up trading Amazon and Tesla in the morning. And so as the day is going by, as the trading day is going by, this group that we have, we just chat. And a lot of people throw out what they're doing or what they're paying attention to. And it does help. It does help because sometimes it reinforces what you're thinking. Sometimes it's just nice to have other people to talk to while you're trading, because there are times where you get emotional and you want to get out, and you're thinking, you know what, I need to get out of this, and then people, kind of help you with, stick with your rules, reinforce your trading. I found this group. They actually found me. I told them that I didn't want to join them, and I wasn't planning on staying if I did join them. And so, okay, I'm switching to Amazon now because I'm thinking that that's going to end up being a good entry point. And the cost of the Amazon 45 days out are like $7,000 or $8,000 per contract. And so I actually went to the 10-day, which are expiring in less than 2 weeks, which I normally don't do, but Amazon is an expensive contract. And I knew I wasn't going to hold more than the day. Like I was either going to lose my max loss, stop loss, or I was going to make a profit on it, but I wasn't going to hold more than the day. So it's going down even more now and not actually reversing. So, but I am ready now at this point. I know I have all the contracts open on the trade tab, and I know that which one I want to enter in at. And on these two trades, the Amazon and Tesla trade I made this morning, I actually used 50% of my account for those two trades. So after I finished these two trades, I still had over $5,000 to trade with, which I ended up using all of it at the end of the day. Not on one trade, but I did spread it out through 5 different trades for the day. So that's 20% per trade approximately, but it's diverse enough that one bad contract wasn't going to kill my account. And that's kind of where you want to be. I mean, you don't have to use 20%. A lot of people use 10. I prefer to use 20, 25-ish of my account because these high dollar, these large cap stocks, these blue chip stocks are expensive, and they can be expensive. And but part of the reason why they're expensive is because of the movement. Like here, just in Amazon, you're looking at an $8 drop within 4 minutes. So any of the, actually it's a lot more than that. My math is off, but any of this move is going to make you a decent profit if you catch it at the right time. So Tesla looks like it hit a bottom here, and it's looking like it's starting to reverse a little bit. Amazon, I'm starting to focus in a little bit too, more on both of those because those are the two that I think I'm going to jump in at this point. So at this point, I'm just watching. I'm just trying to I'm zooming in to make sure that I'm close enough to pay attention to what's going on. I should have probably closed the last window, the Apple window, and I eventually do, but I probably should have here. I don't know why I didn't. Like I said, I have a lot going on right now. I'm watching 4 charts, trying to find a good entry point. Tesla looks like it's not confirmation, but it's getting close to confirmation. So I'm switching over to Amazon because I'm seeing that it's looking like it's going to reverse. I opened up the trade tab to the contracts that I wanted, which is the $10 10-day contract, and then I went to Tesla just now because I think that it's about to hit confirmation. And then I actually switched the price to midway between the bid and ask, and then I entered. And it wasn't confirmation, like I said. I was just shy of confirmation there. And if Charlie, you're watching this, I apologize. I know I'm supposed to enter at confirmation, and I did not. And those actually the 2 entry points I had on Amazon and on Tesla, even if it had been confirmation there, it wouldn't have been a prime entry point. So here now I've actually bought into both Amazon and to Tesla and have positions in both. So now what I want to do is actually want to close out everything else. So on the monitor tab, I go to the monitor tab and I'll open up everything and I will keep an eye to see which ones are starting to profit. And then once the first one comes to $100 profit, then I will start looking to do a trail stop. And it takes a little while here. And if y'all want to fast forward at this point, I think it's going to be a few minutes before. So instead of doing that, what I do is I go to my spreadsheet, I find the ticker that I'm using, I put in the actual price of the contract, which is $31.25. And then for the other one, it's $29.95 for the Amazon one. And so now I know what my stop loss is, my 25.45 for Amazon, and for Tesla, it is like 28 something, I think it was. I actually switched over really quick. And so now I'm either going to stop myself out if it hits that bottom side. And if it doesn't hit the bottom side, I'm just going to let it ride until it starts making a profit. And then I'll start doing trail stops. So now at this point, I'm just keeping an eye on my positions and looking to double check and make sure that I know what the trailing stop loss, or sorry, the stop loss is, the mental stop loss is. And you can tell that I'm doing that because it started going down again. And so I wanted to make sure that I knew what the number was. So now I'm switching to 2 charts only because everything else is no longer something I should be paying attention to. And I only needed to focus on these 2 charts. So I have Amazon and Tesla open. And then over the course of the rest of the trade, what I'll do is I will start, and this is part of it's boredom and part of it is actually helpful, just to kind of keep tabs on where everything is. I'll either use lines to do support and resistance, or I'll use lines for support, resistance, and profit or break even. Because right now I think both of them are at a negative profit. And when I switch back over to the monitor tab, you'll be able to see. So what I'll do is I'll have lines to gauge where I need to be or where the price needs to be in order for me to break even, make a profit, or if it breaks through support or resistance. Excuse me. It was a long day today. I don't normally post my daily post this late, but I end up having to work almost a full day at work, which is 12 hours for oil and gas. And so I didn't get out of work until almost 7. So Tesla looks like it's making a little bit of a move right now. So I think I'll be switching over to see where I'm at as far as profit or loss. Here I go. So I'll hit back over to the other tab, monitor tab. So I'm at $35 profit with Tesla, and I'm losing $262.50 on the Amazon. I'm double checking to see what my bottom side is, $25.45. and I'll check and see I'm not even close. It's 27.82 right now, so I'm fine where it's at. I double check my Apple. Yes, it's still losing me money, so I'm ignoring that again. And I thought about blanking it out, but I'm pretty much an open book. And I have every single trade I've either won or lost on, I've told the group on, and or I've put on my blog. So at this point, there's no point in me ever like having to hide anything or lie about anything. So Tesla's almost at $100, and so what I do is I wait till it hits $100, but I want to make sure it stays at $100 or higher. Like if it pops to $100, I don't set my trailing stop loss just because it breaks $100. I wait till it hits $100 and then goes up from there in order to set the trailing stop loss. Because there's no point in setting a trailing stop loss when it hits 100 and then drops right back down to 80 or 90. Like there's no point in doing that. And so I do that with each of the marks that I have, like the 5% trail stop, the 4% trail stop, and the 3% trail stop. I'll make sure that it's made a full move into the next 100 before I actually set it. Because I think the first couple of times I did it the other way, and it just was pointless because I ended up having to cancel it because if it dropped too much, then I just had to stop and reset, which is something that I'll do in this video also. So right now, the green line is resistance. The red line is support on the Amazon side. On the Tesla side, I just did support, and I use red as support. It's just a mental thing for me. It's like stop, like I don't want it to go below that, so I use it red line, and then green on the resistance because I do want it to go past it, so I use green, and it doesn't really do anything, but it just makes me happy. So the green line I put there was not actually resistance. What it was break even. So at this point, I know that I'm profitable, and if it drops towards that line again, I'm heading back towards zero. So that's the only reason I put that there. Later, I'll make adjustments. And like I said, part of it's just because the trade's taking a long time, and I just need something to do while I'm watching it. And part of it is also it helps me gauge where I'm supposed to be. And I'll switch back and forth between the the charts tab and the monitor tab a lot during a trade. And it's just because I always want to know where I'm at as far as if I'm making money or losing money, if I'm getting close to my stop loss or if I'm fine. Once I get to the trailing stop loss, it's a little less hectic for me as far as switching back and forth between the different tabs. So here what I'm doing is I'm double checking the news and making sure no new news came out that could be potentially negative, which would drop the price. And the same thing for Amazon. And I do that a couple times during this trade because there's a couple times where the trade starts going south, and I want to make sure there's no news to make it go south, because if there's no news to make it go south, the chances of recovery are way better than if there is news that makes it go south, and then I'll need to start planning on setting a stop loss or planning on getting out as soon as it hits my mental stop loss. So like I said, this trade takes about, I think this video is about 45 minutes long. So it just actually takes a little while for this to go through. But I didn't want, so now I'm creating a stop loss, a trailing stop loss. I click limit, set it to trailing stop loss, change it to percent, and then put it at 5. So I'm at a 5% trailing stop loss on my Tesla side right now. And so once it hits 200, I'll actually switch that to another one. And right now I'm just checking, now that I have that stop loss in place, trailing stop loss in place, I'm actually paying a little bit more attention to the Amazon side because I know that the Tesla side is actually working on its own. It doesn't really need a whole lot of help from me unless it moves up enough where I need to change the trailing stop loss. So I'll just constantly switch back and forth, check and see where my positions are as far as financially wise. And so I was thinking about this today, and I was trying to figure out the whole 5% trailing stop loss because honestly, if you have a 5% trailing stop loss and the thing starts going south and then it'll hit zero again, you will, like if you don't cancel it, you will probably lose money on the trade. So what I do is if it goes back towards zero, I actually cancel it. I reset. I don't get into trades to try to break even, and obviously I don't get into trades to lose, but I would rather either profit off of it or lose my maximum loss on the trade that I allow myself than break even, because breaking even is just kind of pointless. So now it's going back down. I'm just keeping an eye on it. And like I said, I will cancel it if it hits close to zero, but right now it's at 60, so I'm fine with it. Later on in this video, you'll actually see me cancel one and reset it, and I think it's on the Amazon side. It started to make a little bit of a break, and then I think it went over $100, and then it started dropping back down. So before it hit zero, I ended up canceling it out. So anyway, so back to the 5%. I think more of the reason for the 5% is because if it starts moving up considerably and then it drops down, it gives it a full chance to drop down a bit and go back up again without stopping you out. If you do it tighter than that, like if you do a 3% stop loss, if it goes up and then if it does just one of those little pullbacks that it does every once in a while, it will stop you out. So the 5% isn't to secure profits. The 5% is more of a, hey, we're giving you enough buffer in order for this to run, pull back a little bit, and then run again. So if it doesn't do that, that's why I cancel it and start all over again. On the 4% and the 3%, that's more of a securing profits thing, because 4% I set over $200 profit. So I know I'm securing some profit there. Now I'm checking SPY. SPY is the S&P 500 EFT. So I'm checking it to see because I think Amazon started going down a little bit. So I wanted to see what the overall S&P 500 was doing. So it's actually moving up. So right now, that little bit of worry that I thought, okay, well, Amazon might be reversing and going back down, I'm not as worried anymore. So news helps, S&P 500 helps. If I'm in front of my television, which has my other laptop on it, which I have like 6 charts, it's a 32-inch at work, which I wasn't today. But if I'm sitting in front of that, I can watch all of this without having to switch back and forth. I can actually look at the charts and just keep my everything on monitor tab or on the trade tab, so I know what's going on. And then the charts I'll just watch on the television. I actually prefer the 2-monitor. Any more than that, I don't really think it's necessary. Obviously, I've seen like 10 monitors and such like that, but I don't really see the point in all that. Two for me, a decent sized TV and a laptop is perfect for it. So now I'm just using my mouse to force the price to go up. And I actually thought of that while I was doing that. I was like, man, I don't have to explain to everybody why I just did that little wave thing with my mouse. Double checking, making sure Amazon isn't hitting my mental stop loss, which it's not. It's still staying above support, which is good. Tesla made a little bit of a move up and it just popped again. So the trailing stop loss just went up a little bit. We're at 120, 132. And I'm just at the point where I'm just keeping an eye on it so I can change my trailing stop from a 5 to a 4%. Now the trailing stop loss is a -5. And I don't think you can actually set a positive trailing stop loss, and you never should be setting one anyway. Even if you're trading a put, your price, your trade price, and your mark price has to be above your trade price for you to make money, even on a put. So your trailing stop limit will always be a negative number because it's running under the current price that the mark is at. Checking again, making sure it hasn't gone to 200, and then checking to make sure my Amazon hasn't gone to, I think it was 25.45 was what the mental stop loss was. And I set up my, since we're just kind of waiting right now, I set up my spreadsheet so that I put all of the tickers in alphabetical order. It makes it a little bit easier for me to find where I need to be on the ticker. I just put my whole watch list on it, and then I put it in alphabetical order. So then when I'm actually ready to trade, I can just go back to the spreadsheet and immediately know where the ticker is. I just started that actually today or last night, and it's way helpful because before I just had them wherever, and it was never, I always had to like look for where it was supposed to be, and so it wasn't very helpful. So now Tesla's going back down a little bit. So we're under 100 now. And see how it's dropped quite a bit on that red candle? So it didn't stop me out because we're still at a 5%. So it does, at a 4 it might have stopped me out, at a 3 it probably would have stopped me out. So it does really help to be able to have that drop and not have an effect. Because look, it went back up again, so the red candle is gone, it's just a wick. So we're back over $130 profit, and we didn't get stopped out because of that. Like I said, 5% trailing stop loss is not to secure profits. 5% trailing stop loss is to make sure that you're allowed to run a little bit and a pullback and then continue to run, because that happens. And if you've been trading for any amount of time, you know that happens on a run all the time. It'll go up, it'll stop, pull back a little bit, and then it'll go up again. And there are times where one candle will just drop dramatically and go back up. And if it's not a huge drop, then you won't get stopped out and you can continue to take more of the profits. So Tesla just made another move, checking to see if it's at 200 yet. Still not 200. And Amazon is still trading sideways. And that actually, I think the Amazon side is actually a longer trade. It's the one that's going to end up taking us to the end. It moved again. Tesla moved again, so we're at about 185. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. And like I said, see how it's bouncing back and forth. Even if it hit 200, I would not change the trailing stop loss, because it needs to stay up there. Because there's no point in setting it and then letting it pop right back down again. Because if it pops down too far and you change your stop loss from a 5 to a 4 or a 4 to a 3, you could get stopped out immediately. And this is all based off of, doing this enough over the last, few weeks, that I've learned that this is actually, for me anyway, that it works best for me. Other people might be different, but for me, I'm just a little bit more conservative, and things have been going really well for me with this method. So this is what I've been doing. So Tesla's still moving up a little bit. Oh, and I wanted to say too, I had to end up trading Amazon twice today. The second time, it had a nice little run up, like a really good run up. And when it hit $500 profit, what I ended up doing was I ended up going from a 3% to a 2%. And the reason why, see, now I'm changing it to a 4. So I just did a right click on the sell button and then went to cancel and replace. And then I just hit the up button one time to change it to a 4% and just sent it. And since it's a live trade, I wasn't going to do it slow. So you can pause it if you need to, or rewind it and look at it again. But yeah, I try to go pretty quick, because things go pretty quick sometimes. But anyway, so the Amazon trade at the end of the day I did today, because it got up to $500 profit, and it was like at a really long run, it just kept going up and up and up. And so my mentality was, man, this thing is going to have to stop at some point and reverse. And I want to keep as much of this profit as possible. So I decided to go ahead and change it from a 3% to a 2% trailing stop loss. And it ended up being the right thing to do, because it dropped not too long after that and stopped me out, and then it just kept on dropping. And I ended up keeping about about $420 something of the profit, of the 500 something profit. And if it had been a 3%, which would have been normal, I would have probably been into the upper 300s, which is fine too. I mean, it's still good profit, but the more you can keep off of a run, the better. I mean, everybody's happier with more money, obviously. So now Amazon just made a move, and we're waiting for that $100 profit. So we're kind of keeping an eye on it. Right now, Tesla's doing okay on its 4% trailing stop loss now, and it's still like moving up slowly. So we're not worried about that now. We'll check it every once in a while to make sure it hasn't hit 300, because that'll be the next move on the trailing stop loss. And but my focus right now is more on Amazon. Oh, there's another thing I learned today, and I didn't do this in the video, is that if you want to right click and cancel and replace, you don't have to go to the trade tab to do that. You can actually do it over that little icon that's on the chart. So over that red little flag, you can right click on that and do a cancel and replace there. and it'll take you back to this page. So now I'm setting my trail stop limit for 5% on Amazon now. And it's over $127, so it did break 100 and stay over 100. And we're getting close to our 300 point on the Tesla. So everything's looking kind of nice now. And like I said, the entries today were not the best entries. Could have waited quite a bit longer and entered way too early. But patience when something like that happens, because we all make mistakes pretty often, especially with trading, because you get excited. And so you just have to be patient and just work your plan. And the plan is either stop it out when it breaks down below a certain amount, or do this. So Tesla's pulling back a little bit, and it's at 4%. So we're actually, even on 4%, you can see that there was a nice little pullback, and it didn't stop us out. And see, you just popped again, and it's still running. So we're fine. On Amazon, it's now making a drop. So here I'm starting to see that we're getting close to back where we were. We're back to break even. So as this red candle is dropping more, I keep an eye on where the Amazon profits are. So we're at $5 now. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, we need to cancel that, which I just clicked on the little X, canceled it. And now we're resetting ourselves. So we're back at zero. Actually, we're actually at a negative again, but we reset ourselves and we're focused back on Tesla because now Amazon is being a jerk. I was just checking to see where the last support was, and I wanted to see if I needed to start making some adjustments on support and resistance, which I do. Like I said, this helps me mentally, and it also keeps me semi-entertained while I'm trading. I limited myself with communicating with the group that the trading group I'm with today, just because I knew I was making this video. I didn't want to keep popping back and forth between a chat room and the trades. But normally I would be talking a lot more to them about what's going on, where I'm at with my trades, and how my trades are going. And the group that I'm in, actually, they're really good guys. We all have a very similar mindset, and we're all very honest with each other. Like nobody wins every single trade, and we all are honest about if we're making money or not making money. They know about my Apple trade. I told them a couple of times, actually. I bought it last week. And like I said, I think I was trading, I had 4 or 5 trades going on at the same time, which is ridiculous. I shouldn't be doing that. 2 is probably my max. I should only be in 2 at a time. And so I just lost track of it, and it ended up biting me. So, and with the things going on off the aftermarket today, it's probably going to drop even more in the morning, or it's going to be worth even less in the morning when the market opens. There should be some recovery in the morning if tomorrow morning does the same thing that last Friday and last Monday did. But like I said, if it doesn't, I'm just gonna hold it till Friday, and if I'll sell it for a loss and hopefully just minimize my loss. If it does pop a little bit and I can minimize my loss before Friday, obviously I will. So now Tesla is kind of just trading sideways right now. And right now I'm changing the support level, because it seems to have moved up to this little tiny alley. So I've noticed that with these little, when it starts trading between support and resistance, and it just bounces back and forth between a couple of like 50 cents or $1, that it does that for a while, but it will at one point either move up or move down. You never know which way it's going to go, but it does at some point either pop one way or the other. I don't know if I've been lucky or if it's just because most of the trades I've been taking are on positive news, but most of it has been popping up whenever this little sideways trading ends. Just checking my Tesla again. Amazon, still waiting for it to get back to profitable before we do anything with it. We're still ignoring Apple because we hate it. And now I'm just making adjustments again. Instead of break even now, I think I'm changing it to support and resistance. So I just put the highest support level or highest resistance level. This is my least favorite part about trading. I prefer just to get in and get out. I don't like long trades. Lately, they seem to be getting longer and longer. But yeah, I like the getting in and getting out like in 10 minutes. I have no idea what I was thinking there or what I was doing. Maybe just being bored. Still at $200 for Tesla and getting a little bit towards breaking even on Amazon. I've only had to cancel and start over again on maybe 2 trades, 3 at the most, over the last 3 weeks, and I've made probably between 4 to 6 trades every single day. No, that's incorrect. 3 to 5 trades a day for every single trading day for the last 3 weeks. So so I've only had to do it 2 or 3 times, which is actually really good. I don't like to do it if I don't have to. Like, obviously I don't want to do it, but I have had to do it, and every single time that I've done it, it's been in my benefit. Now I don't know if that will continue or not, but as of right now, that's the strategy that I use. So when it hits close to zero again, I just cancel it and just start over. So Tesla's looks like it's moving down a little bit. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it, checking to make sure the profit isn't dropping down too far. Because if I have to drop it back down to a 5%, I will, but I haven't had to do that yet on a trade. It just broke support. Just keeping an eye to make sure it's not back to 100. Still over 100. At this point, I could just easily freak out and just, take my profits and run. But like I said, if you have a plan, you try to stick to it as much as possible. Obviously, I didn't on this trade because of my entries. But once I got in, I do try to stick to my plan as close to possible because I found that it's actually making me some decent returns. So now it goes back now. Everything that we lost earlier we gain. I'm changing my support level to what it is now. And so it just sold. So I think what happened there, and I'm not exactly sure how the trailing stop loss works. I think I know how a trailing stop loss works, but that I don't think it actually worked the way it's supposed to. It's $190 profit for that one. So what I think happened was I think it dropped below trigger, and then for some reason when it went back up and hit that trigger again, it actually filled because it's on a move up and it didn't move back down at any point. So that's why I think that it did that. I think I've seen it happen a couple other times. It's never it's never screwed me. I've never lost money because of it. So I haven't. I don't know. I haven't complained about it. Um, but the good thing about Thinkorswim is that their support is actually really good. And if something happens that wasn't supposed to happen, you can talk to them and they will try to do the right thing. I've had more than a couple of occasions where I've talked to them about stuff, and they've always been more than accommodating with me. The only thing that they didn't accommodate me is I asked them if I could have all of my trading fees back for the last year after they after they made all trading $0 for actual stock trades, and it was like $500 or something, and they said they wouldn't do that. But I thought I'd ask just to see if they would if they would. I mean, it would have been an extra $500 if they had said yes. So now I'm checking the news again. Just want to make sure that nothing negative has popped up since I started the trade. It's still the last news that popped up was 8:07 this morning, so nothing new. So I have no reason to believe that this thing will drop significantly while I'm trading. Oh, so what I did was after the trade was over, I right clicked on it and I sent it to. I have different groups on my monitor page, and that's actually me putting in on my spreadsheet what I made today. So on my monitor page, I have different groups. So whenever I finish with a trade, I right click on it and I send it to the finished group. And so that way it's out of the way. Because if you have 2, 3, or 4 trades going on at the same time and they're all on that bottom unallocated, it gets confusing. And so as I close trades out or as I finish trades, I move them to a different area so that way they're not in my way. So I'm not paying attention to something that's already done and that I shouldn't be paying attention to anymore. I think it's an advanced. It's one of those things. It's like the trailing stop loss. People, if you don't have your advanced options turned on your Thinkorswim, then I think that's one of the advanced options on your Thinkorswim that you have to have. That the only way you have is if you have the advanced options turned on. And I actually wrote a blog post on how to turn on the advanced options. It's under the setting the trailing stop loss blog post. So if you do a search in my blog on setting a trailing stop loss, you should come up with that post, and it will show you. It will tell you how to. It will walk you through how to turn on the advanced options on your Thinkorswim. So this is just now. We're just waiting, and waiting, checking to see. Finally went back to positive, so that's a good sign. Making a little bit of a move up. Now we don't know if it's an actual move or if it's going to hit resistance again and just drop back down. So I think it actually stalled out again. The internet stalled out again at this point, and then it started moving again right there. Just checking again. We're $55, $60. Still moving up, which is good. I'm just waiting for it to move one more time before I check. Just getting ready to set my trailing stop loss. That's why I have my clicker over the monitor tab. You can set it on your monitor tab, or you can actually set it on your trade tab. You just got to know that if you're on your trade tab and you want to set it, you have to have the actual ticker in the box on your trade tab. And so monitor for me is a little bit easier because I can actually select any one. So now we're at 100 again and staying above 100. So we'll set it again, limit to trailing stop limit, and we'll change it to a percentage. And then we'll go down to negative 5%, hit send, and now we have a trailing stop limit, trailing stop loss limit. And I use the trailing stop loss limit over just the trailing stop loss because it does it's not a market order. So now it's at 200. So we'll right click on the cell, change it to 4%, and send it again. And so now it's moved up to, now we have a 4% trailing stop limit, or trailing stop loss limit. So now at this point, the $200 and the 4%, there's almost no chance it'll go back to zero. There's no chance it'll go back to zero unless something goes wrong. And so I've secured profits at this point. It's back down under 200, but we're not worried. $19.03. So now we're checking again where the profits are. We're just waiting for the 300 point to set it up to a 3%. There have been situations where I have set a 3% right away. And the situation I did that in is if something moves up really, really quick and I want to secure the profits in, like these slow upward moves, I'm a little bit more secure in setting a 5 than a 4 than a 3. But if something moves up fast, I try, and it moves up significantly fast, then I'll set a 3%, and then I'll just leave it there. Because if something moves up that fast, that much that fast, there's a good chance it'll move down quickly, and I want to make sure I take profits on something like that. I've only done that maybe once. At least once, maybe twice. So now we're just messing with support and resistance just because it's something to do. And actually, I think we got the wrong number, so we're actually going to change that again here in a second. Yeah, I was checking to make sure what the level was, and then I'll change it to whatever it's supposed to be. So now we have resistance again. So I do support and resistance the same way I do my trailing stop limit. When it goes to breaks 100 or 200, I make sure that it actually breaks it. So in this case, when it just broke support on that candle before, but it was just a wick and came back down again, I don't consider that breaking resistance. Now this candle that's going now is above that resistance line. That I consider breaking resistance. I mean, there's three candle wicks above resistance at that point anyway. But here we go. Now I'm changing this to, I'm going to cancel replace, down one more or up one more to a 3% and send it. And now we have a 3% trailing stop loss. And this is, at this point, we're just going to leave it and let it do its thing. And when it's, you just saw there was like a $352 profit. And so when this trade finally ends in the next minute or two, I want to remember that number of 352 because I think that's the peak at where it was profiting. So the trailing stop limit is at a 3% trailing stop limit or trailing stop loss limit. And so why I want you to pay attention is I want you to see what the profit is on this trade and see how much of it we actually lost because of a 3%, even with a 3% trailing stop loss. I could have switched it to a 2, but like I said, on a 2, it's really tight. and any move down could potentially knock it, trigger and close it. So 3 I found is okay, but you do lose quite a bit of profit on the downward move. So like I said, just pay attention. It was 352, I think it was, and then just pay attention to the actual profits on this trade once it closes, and it will close here in about a minute or two. Sorry this video was so long, but like I said, I wanted you to see the whole process. There it goes. So it just stopped out now. So I'll go back to my monitor. See, now it drops considerably. So luckily it came out, and so 295. So we lost almost over $60 of that profit because we were at 352. So, and then I just switched it and changed it to the finished area, which is the top one that says finished. So that's it. So that's how I do my my trades, and just don't pay attention to the bad entry, and don't pay attention to my Apple calls. But almost every single trade, this is how I trade now. I used to tend to take profits way too early, and now I'm able to take a little bit more. I can actually take quite a bit more profit now using the trailing stop loss method. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, comments, anything, always open to talking.